Hi, Dr. Hannah here again. I wanted to talk to you about the journal article review assignment. This one kind of trips people up, so I thought maybe a video would help to walk you through what's expected. The overall point of the entire assignment, that is actually in 4 parts this semester, is to help students learn how to read journal articles because psychology is a science and we do report our findings from research in journal articles. And if you've ever had a chance to look at a journal article, you know that they're kind of complicated to decipher and to decode. So we want to give you some practice doing that as you go through the semester. So this journal article review assignment, which is a mouthful, is done in 4 parts. The first part is to choose a topic. And in that, I have given you a list of topics to choose from. Stay within the list, choose one thing. So that first part's pretty easy. Just choose a topic and let me know what it is. The second part of the journal article review assignment is to find an article and to create a citation. This seems simple on the surface, but it can be a little bit of a bugaboo. In psychology, we use what's called APA formatting. Now, you're probably familiar with MLA formatting, which we use pretty much everywhere else other than sciences. And it's something you used probably in your English classes or history or kind of other humanities classes. In psychology, we have APA. And this is an entirely different type of citation. And it's one that we want you to get some practice with and some familiarity with. So part 2 is to use EBSCO Host, which is one of our library search engines, to find an appropriate article. And there are instructions in the course on how to use EBSCO Host and how to find an article. So I'm not going to go into great depth there. But then you also have to figure out how to cite that article. One of the cool things is that unlike when I was in school and I carried around this big old APA manual and had to find the exact right situation and then try and figure out how to do the citation, there's so many tools now that will auto-generate a draft of the citation for you. Notice I said draft because, as you know, AI is not perfect. And we can't rely on it to be perfect. So you have this great tool available a lot of times to be able to auto-generate a draft of your citation. And then you've got to do the double checking and the tweaking and the final adjustments to your APA citation format. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Go to the Purdue OWL website. Put in APA. And then choose. It'll give you a whole bunch of information. Purdue is fantastic with updating their writing resources, especially with APA. So in the APA section of the Purdue OWL website, you are going to be able to say, I want to cite a journal article. And it's going to give you all of the parts. It's going to tell you where all the little periods go that don't seem to make sense. It's going to tell you that some things are italicized and other things aren't. It's also going to tell you that the second and subsequent lines of a citation are indented. So sometimes when you see citations generated, it's missing that indent, but it is an important part of the APA citation formatting. So after you have this draft of your citation, I want you to go to the Purdue OWL website and look up journal articles. In fact, I'll even give you a link to get you right there. How to cite journal articles. And I want you to pay really close attention to the punctuation, the font bolding or italicize or whatever. I want you to pay attention to that. And I want you to pay attention to the indentations that are required in APA citation. So part 2 is all about submitting that citation for me, as well as submitting why you chose the article, because I want you to have a little bit of a connection to it. When we have a connection, it's easier to read things that are difficult. I think you'll probably agree with me. If you're interested in it, it's so much easier to go through something that's challenging or may have parts that you don't understand. So you're going to do that for me in part 2. I want you to get as close as you can on that APA citation, because then I'm going to give you feedback and help you understand what still needs to be fixed so that when you put it in the final paper, you're good to go. The third part is the rough draft. So the rough draft is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to start putting together everything, including the citation. You're going to do your title page. You are going to write your content. your review of the article, and there are specific parameters to follow. So there's questions that you can think about as you read the journal article. All of that's in the instructions. Here's what I want to say about the rough draft. Students who put a ton of effort into that rough draft, I'm able to give them really specific feedback to get them to the finish line with their final draft. Students who just kind of put a couple sentences here and there, and it's not really fleshed out, it's not finished, it's not well thought through, that I don't get to provide a whole lot of feedback. So when we get to the final paper, sometimes my feedback is a really big surprise and not necessarily in a good way. I want you to, as much as possible, try and turn in as complete of a paper for the rough draft, which is part 3. I want you to turn in as complete of a paper as humanly possible, because that means I get to give you feedback, or I can say, oh my gosh, just do another quick run through, read through for proofreading, and I think you're good to go. How cool is that? So make sure that that rough draft, part 3, is as complete as possible. I know it says rough draft, but if you want more feedback, more detailed feedback, the more information you give me to go on, the better it's going to be. And then part 4, as you might suspect, is the final paper. So you're going to incorporate all of that feedback that I've been giving you along the way, saying, oh, that citation wasn't quite right in part 2. I should go back and check it. I still didn't get it right in the rough draft. What am I missing? If you're lost, you're confused, let me know. I am happy to help. And so this final paper is your chance to incorporate all of that feedback and then submit a paper that you are really proud of your effort and the output that you created. Okay. So 4 parts to this assignment. Part 1 is to choose your topic. That's easy peasy. Part 2, find your article and create a citation. Part 3, rough draft as complete as possible. Part 4, final paper. All right. If you have questions as you start tackling this, please let me know. If this is the first time you've ever read a journal article and you open it up and you go, holy cow, I have no idea what to do, let me know. I am happy to give you tips, tricks, ideas for getting through that content and making sense of it. This is what I do. I've been doing it for over 15 years. I've been reading journal articles, since the 1990s. So you know that I've got all the tricks, tips, tools that you could possibly want. And I want to be able to share those with you as well on your journey. All right. As always, if you have questions, just let me know.